Hey, once again, this is Rashila Lynn and welcome to my channel. This video is going to be part of my minimalism journey series, and interestingly enough, you guys might be able to relate to everything I will be saying because these are the things that I learned about myself while I was decluttering. Things that I was okay with about myself in the past, but now I can't imagine to ever be or to ever do again. So no more further intro, let's get started. First is that I was a maximalist, or maybe I wasn't exactly a maximalist, but it's a quick way of saying that I wasn't a minimalist at all. I was a hoarder, something like that. I thoughtlessly owned and kept so many things, and I would purchase things way ahead of time, like even if I didn't need it at that moment, or probably I didn't actually need it at all, I would buy it and I would keep it. So while I was going through all my stuff, I found a lot of things that were still in their original packaging and with price tags, as well as clothes that still had price tags completely unused. I also loved purchasing things that I wasn't sure of, like makeup and skincare stuff, and then I would use it once or twice. And I guess that's normal, but once I decide that I don't like this particular product, I still hold on to it, which is thankfully something I don't do anymore. Right now, if I don't like something, I give it away so other people can try it out and use it. I don't wait for it to expire in my hands anymore. But back then, I would just keep an excessive amount of things, whether it still had purpose in my life or not. Second is I experimented too much on fashion. A lot of us do this, and depending on our age or what stage of life we are in, I guess it's pretty normal. I'm actually very grateful I came across minimalism, which is hopefully and probably going to put an end to my fashion experiments. While I was sorting my clothes, making decisions on which clothing I should keep and which ones I should let go, I realized that I prefer those that are simple, plain, and like neutral colored. I had a lot of printed clothes back then, but I didn't like them anymore. Like, I couldn't see myself wearing bright printed dresses anymore. I also got rid of the clothes that I purchased because it was just like, the reason was because it was trendy back then. And at the end of the day, the clothes I chose to keep were only the decent ones I can see myself wear as a mother and as a wife. And if ever in the future I will miss feeling stylish and fashionable, the trend will have already changed and it will be better to just purchase new clothes. That might not happen though if I become a hardcore minimalist. My number 3 realization is that I had too many hobbies. Too many. I guess it was also a social media thing. Like, when you see people do this on social media, you go into FOMO, so you also try this. Like, one example is something I mentioned before, which is watercolor and brush calligraphy. I mean, yeah, I did say it was fun and therapeutic, but I spent a lot of money for workshops and the materials and the paper, and I guess I don't fully regret that. However, I had other hobbies too, like I got into stitching, reading young adult novels, and I learned nothing. I did puzzles and I bought slimes, and at one point I got into plants, and there is nothing like super wrong with getting into hobbies, but the thing is I kind of go all out and spend so much time and energy and money on one thing, and when I lose interest, I find it hard to let go of these stuff because of the money I spent to buy them, so I stow them away somewhere and they become clutter. Looking back, I wish I didn't try out that many hobbies, but I'm sure I benefited from those somehow. So I guess I'm just grateful to be done with that phase and just thankful to be where I am today. Next is I had too many just-in-case items. I see something and I say, oh, I might need this someday, so I decide to keep it. And years and years and years after, I still have it, unused. I had too many of those things. Safety pins, little pouches, buttons, nail files, push pins, small empty boxes, Q-tips. I had so many Q-tips. A lot of them looked tired and dirty, you know how these stuff kind of look old. You don't actually want to use them anymore. I also had a lot of papers and old notebooks with some blank pages, which I know I might be able to use, but I'm not in school anymore and I only use one journal every year, so there's basically no need for that much scratch papers. But I kept them just in case. And after seeing how many just in case items I had, I gave a lot of them away to people who actually needed those things at that moment, and said to myself, hey, I am going to buy these things when I need them. And so far it's been a year and I don't ever recall looking for a button. Fifth on the list, I guess you can also relate to this if you are a woman, I realized I was very sentimental. I found a movie ticket from 4 years ago. It was a movie I watched with my husband and I kept it. I mean, I don't know why, because we're already married, so it wasn't a special movie, but I kept it. And I also kept receipts, table napkins, souvenirs, keychains, a lot I have already forgotten about. And the craziest things were like in one shoebox, and they were letters and notes from when I was in 5th grade, middle school, high school. So many journals and papers and weird stuff that I thought were super important. I mean, okay, to be honest, I went through all of them and went on a journey to the past. And I realized a lot of cringy things. I learned a lot of things about my past self, but none of which I can change anymore. So I decided to get rid of these papers, these letters, these cheesy notes. They will not help me today anymore, and they're just collecting dust. I kept them all these years because I was too sentimental. I admit this was so difficult to do though, so yes, some I have thrown away, some are still here with me, but I already have a plan about what to do with these that are still here with me. Another realization from all my decluttering is how grateful I am for technology. Because first, I learned about minimalism through the internet, and I am able to find so much help and guidance on how to start and continue my minimalism journey from other people's YouTube videos. Another thing is, I honestly wouldn't be able to let go of a lot of my things if it weren't for technology. There were so many things I found too important, but at the same time were already useless to me. It was so heartbreaking for me to just throw everything because I was scared of completely forgetting about some memories and some people. Okay, some stuff were easy to let go, no problem, but some stuff were too precious, but I really have no space for them and they had no purpose in my life anymore. What made me overcome that fear and get on with my minimalism journey was definitely technology. I decided to film myself during those first 6 days of sorting and decluttering so I could document myself talking about my stuff, who gave it, when I bought it, why I kept it, and why I was deciding to let go of it. So now I can just rewatch these videos if I want to take a trip down memory lane and not feel so guilty about some stuff I got rid of, because in the video I genuinely talked about my feelings and reasons why I made those decisions. I swear if I wasn't able to think of documenting the whole decluttering process, letting go of these things will be 10 times harder, or I may have ended up keeping all of them again in some boxes. Okay, number 7, and tell me if you are also like this, I forget about a lot of my stuff. When I was sorting my things, I was like, what? I didn't know I had this. What is this? Why did I buy this? Why do I have this? And that's actually an embarrassing thing to admit. I am such an irresponsible shopper, and once I already own things, I tend to forget about them, which makes me a bad person because that just means I am wasteful. I used to not think about how to spend my money wisely. Minimalism is actually helping me about this because now that I only have a few stuff, I am able to remember my things more. In fact, I can probably enumerate all of my stuff right now without looking because I carefully thought about each item, making sure that I wasn't keeping something I will most likely forget about. And I guess that could be one very important guide when you are starting into your journey your minimalism journey, that if you forget about some of your belongings, it means that you are not using it enough or you don't need it at all. So it should be in the hands of other people who will be able to maximize its purpose. Next is, well, I did say in one of my previous videos that my family and I are huge mall goers. So I'm just going to say it again. I spent too much time in the mall. This means that I give myself an opportunity to shop even when I don't need anything. This is probably the reason why deciding to become a minimalist while I am locked down during this pandemic is really a good decision. I cannot go to the mall these days, or if I can, I would spend the littlest amount of time to make sure I have the least exposure to the COVID virus. But before the pandemic happened, I would be in the mall too often, and somehow I always bought something, whether I planned to or not. So now, as I am trying to become a better minimalist, I will keep that in mind. I have been spending too much time in the mall. I shouldn't do that anymore. And I should spend my time and energy in other more meaningful areas of my life. Speaking of shopping, number 9 on the list is I did not lack money. I just thought I needed to spend on things that weren't actually important. I'm not saying that as of today I have ultimately achieved financial stability or that I am now very rich and wealthy. What I'm saying is, before, I thought I wasn't earning enough and I felt like I kept running out of money. But looking at the excessive amount of things I had and thinking about my spending habits in the past compared to today, the problem was easy to point out. I would purchase things that I didn't need, and in my head I would think of how much money I needed to purchase more of it. But several months into my minimalism journey, I now feel like I always have money for what's necessary, and I don't need to keep thinking of how to earn more money, where to find a new income source, how can I buy new shoes. I mean, I would take the extra cash if I could, but since this is all we have for now, I am surprisingly just contented and happy because minimalism has simplified our lives. My husband and I did not get a raise or a new income source. What we used to earn is the same amount as how much we earn right now, but it's just that I am more conscious and intentional on where I want to spend our money. Surprisingly, at the end of each month, we are now able to put more into our savings. Before, we used to never set anything aside for our savings, and sometimes we would even run out of budget for the month. I would say minimalism really has done a lot for our family. Last on the list, and probably the most important thing I learned, is definitely less is more. I now understand the meaning of less is more. If you are hearing this for the first time, you probably won't get it right away because how can less be more, right? But I usually feel how true this statement is when I look back and think of how much time I spent going through all my stuff. I spent 6 days, and actually even more than that. I could have spent those days and all of those times doing better things, being with my family, resting, doing yoga, but I had to sit on the floor and sort my stuff for days because they were that many. If I have less, then I would have more free time. If I have less, then our house would have more space. If I have less, then I have more money. If I have less, then I have more appreciation to what I already have. And now that I have less, I can give more attention to what's truly important.